Cardiovascular system. The body's cardiovascular system works 24/7 for the entire duration of your life. Whether you are sleeping or running to catch a bus, your CV system is working in some way. The demands of daily life for the CV system vary from day to day. It will be put under more pressure if you engage in more strenuous physical activity, or less pressure if you do not partake in physical activities throughout your day. The cardiovascular system has a number of different functions. First of all, your body requires nutrients. These nutrients are consumed through food and drink and are subsequently transported around your body via the bloodstream. These nutrients are taken to their respective locations and are deposited through various blood vessels. Another main function of the CV system is the removal of waste products. Unwanted waste products such as carbon dioxide and lactic acid need to be removed from the body's systems. This is done via the bloodstream. As the heart pumps blood around the body, it collects these waste products as it goes and removes them. Carbon dioxide, for instance, is taken out of the body back through the lungs. Arguably the most important function of the CV system is the transportation of oxygen around the body. The body's muscles require oxygen to contract, and so oxygen is carried in the bloodstream in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Deoxygenated blood is then passed back up to the lungs where it collects more oxygen. Clotting is another important function of the cardiovascular system as it protects us from infection. White blood cells are carried in the bloodstream to the location of a cut or wound or anywhere that might get infected, and a scab is formed. Blood can also clot, blocking up certain blood vessels in order to try and prevent blood loss or an injury. White blood cells can also help prevent infection in other areas of the body. They stop potentially harmful cells from damaging the cells in our body, and they can only do this because the bloodstream takes them to the area of a possible infection. This is an important function in stopping us getting ill. It's necessary for our bodies to stay at a healthy temperature, and the CV system is vital in ensuring that this happens. The process of thermoregulation involves the blood either travelling to the surface of our limbs and torso when we are hot, thus letting heat escape into the atmosphere, or when we are too cold, the blood vessels transporting blood near the surface will vasoconstrict, therefore letting less hot blood near the skin, therefore letting less heat escape. The cardiovascular system is split into two circulations. This is, unsurprisingly, known as a double circulation. Firstly, the pulmonary circuit consists of the heart and the lungs. The heart supplies the lungs with carbon dioxide-rich blood via the pulmonary artery, where the blood is oxygenated. This blood is then pumped back into the heart via the pulmonary veins, from where it can be distributed to the rest of the body. The blood that is taken to the lungs is oxygenated by a diffusion of oxygen through the capillaries in the lungs. This oxygenated blood travels back through the venules, into the veins, and back to the heart. The systemic circuit consists of the heart and the rest of the body, excluding the lungs. Blood is taken into the heart from the body via the vena cava. The blood is then oxygenated through the pulmonary circuit before being taken out of the heart through the aorta and to the rest of the body. This oxygen-rich blood is taken to the necessary muscles where it deposits oxygen through capillaries and then travels back into the heart via veins. Your heart is a single organ, but it acts as a double pump. The first pump carries deoxygenated blood to your lungs, where it unloads carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen. It then delivers oxygenated blood back to your heart. The second pump delivers oxygenated blood to every part of your body. Blood needing more oxygen is sent back to the heart to begin the cycle again. In one day, your heart transplants all your blood around your body about 1,000 times. The heart walls consist of three layers, known as the pericardial sac. Firstly, the outer layer, called the pericardium, is a wall of fibrous tissue. It encloses the pericardial cavity, which contains pericardial fluid. The pericardium fixes the heart to the mediastinum, gives protection against infection, and provides the lubrication for the heart. Inside this is the pericardial cavity, which is surrounded by the visceral and parietal pericardia. This helps hold the pericardial fluid within the pericardial cavity. Further inside from this is the myocardium, which is a thick layer of muscle. This provides a scaffolding for the heart chambers, assisting in contraction and relaxation of the cardiac walls. The inside layer of the pericardial sac is the endocardium, which is a layer of epithelial cells. The endocardium provides protection to the valves and heart chambers. There are two atria within the There are two atria within here, a left atrium and a right atrium. These are small chambers at the top of the heart designed for taking in and storing blood. Blood is passed from these atria into ventricles via valves. The valve on the right of the heart is known as the tricuspid valve, and this opens to let the bicuspid valve. And this opens to let the blood flow into the right ventricle from the right atrium. The valve on the left of the heart is known as the bicuspid valve, and opens to let blood flow into the left ventricle from the left atrium. These valves are attached to papillary muscles via chordae tendineae, which snap the valve shut to prevent backflow. The aortic valve and the pulmonary valve are located inside the aorta and pulmonary artery. These pocket-like valves catch any blood that falls back towards the ventricles they were pumped from. The cardiac cycle consists of 3 stages. First of all, the heart is in a stage of cardiac diastole, in which all chambers are relaxed and blood is allowed to flow into the left atrium. Next, atrial systole and ventricular diastole occur. The atria contract, pushing the blood into the recently relaxed ventricles. The last stage is atrial diastole and ventricular systole. The atria relax and the ventricles contract, pushing blood out of the heart. This steady, rhythmic process is what creates a heartbeat. The sinoatrial, or SA, node sends an impulse out through the atria and back into the atrioventricular, or AV, node. This impulse instructs the muscles in the atria walls to contract. At the AV node, the impulse then travels down the bundle of His in the septum, through the bundle branches, and back up the ventricles along the Purkinje fibers. The impulse spreading up the Purkinje fibers is what causes the ventricles to relax. During atrial diastole, there is no activity from the conduction system. As the ventricles fill with blood in the passive process of ventricular diastole, there is again no action from the conduction system. It is only when the processes of atrial systole, which lasts approximately 0.3 seconds, and ventricular diastole, which is a process of active filling, occur, that the CS stimulates the contraction of the atria by an impulse sent from the SA node. During ventricular systole, which also lasts roughly 0.3 seconds, the AV node spreads the impulse through the septum and up the walls of the ventricles in the Purkinje fibers. This causes the contractions that create ventricular systole. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, can influence the cardiac cycle unconsciously. Demand changes in the environment are detected by receptors in the body, and these can trigger the ANS into affecting the body's heartbeat. These receptors are thermoreceptors, proprioceptors, chemoreceptors, and baroreceptors. Thermoreceptors detect changes in the body's temperature, leading to thermoregulation if necessary. Proprioceptors respond to position and movement of a muscle. Chemoreceptors respond to levels of products such as O2, CO2, pH, etc. in the body. They can cause heart rate to speed up or slow down depending on what is needed for the muscle's current state. Baroreceptors are sensitive to changes in pressure and tension. This information is then sent to the cardiac control center in the medulla oblongata, in the brain. Here, the cardiac control center decides the best action to take. If the action is to slow down the body's heart rate, then the impulse will be sent down an inhibitory parasympathetic nerve, also known as a vagus nerve. If the action is to speed up the heart rate, then the impulse travels down an acceleratory sympathetic nerve, known as accelerator nerves. Adrenaline also has an impact on heart rate. The release of adrenaline into the bloodstream can cause the heart to set into flight or fight mode, in which it prepares the body's muscles for action by raising heart rate, therefore supplying the muscles with sufficient oxygen. The role of blood is to act as a transportation system for the vital products that the body needs. Blood vessels are responsible for carrying blood around the body so they can deposit the chemicals they carry. Erythrocytes are red blood cells which carry hemoglobin. This is a vital pigment that bonds to the oxygen and carbon dioxide and allows them to be carried in the bloodstream, and it is also the pigment that gives blood its reddy colour. Leukocytes are the white blood cells of the immune system that are involved in protecting the body against diseases. Platelets are the cells that circulate within our blood and bind together when they recognize damaged blood vessels. And plasma makes up about 55% of the body's total blood volume and is a yellowish-coloured liquid component of blood that holds blood cells in suspension. Each blood vessel is structured differently to adapt to its specific function. The walls of our blood vessel are made up of 3 parts: tunica externa, tunica media, which is made of smooth muscle, and tunica intima, from outside to in. These are separated by layers of elastic membrane. Arteries have thicker walls, which means their tunicas are thicker and stronger. This is because they have to pump blood through them at a faster rate, and so need tougher walls to cope with the higher blood pressure. On the other hand, veins and capillaries have much thinner walls, as they have a smaller blood pressure to cope with. Veins and arteries are lined on the inside with a layer of endothelial cells, called an endothelium. Endothelial cells of developing arteries and veins express different cell surface proteins, which may control the way in which they link up to create a capillary bed. Veins have a large lumen, which allows blood to easily return towards the heart. This makes the blood pressure very high. This makes the blood pressure very low. Arteries have a slightly smaller lumen diameter, making the blood pressure higher to ensure it gets around the body quickly. Thank you.